So good afternoon, everyone. Let me quickly share my screen as well. So we are here today to talk about how dads can make a difference to the emotional well-being of a special needs family. Just a quick intro on Patients Engage. I think most of you do know us, but to those who don't know, we are an online platform. We've been around for more than 5 years, and our key message is that families of people with chronic conditions or people with chronic conditions themselves can learn from each other. Lived experiences matter, and you get a better quality of life the more informed you are. I won't go into a long introduction about Patients Engage, but we have been doing a series of webinars. We did a whole series which we are continuing with Vidya Sagar, where we talked of how people with disabilities can achieve independence and build their personalities, as well as earlier this month we talked about the need for accessible housing. And we've also done a whole series on the importance of the emotional well-being of mothers of special need kids. We've talked of inclusive play in the past with a few parents, as well as the founder of Kili Kili Kavita. And we've talked with the Together We Can group, which focused on safety and empowerment of parents in the field of therapy. So today we are here to talk to dads. And the reason we felt this was important is, we do these webinars where people talk about their lived experiences, and we can listen and engage and learn from these experiences. But one of our observations was that while mothers of children with special needs are generally more vocal and engage more on issues and challenges involved as a parent, fathers have typically been more reticent and restrained, with, of course, a few exceptions. So we thought we would bring dads together to talk about their experiences. And we tried to coincide it with Father's Day, which was last Sunday, but we are we thought we'd let people enjoy their Father's Day. So we are here today with three of our panelists. Sriram, commonly and popularly known as Ram, as a management consultant. His son Nishant, 24, is an intern at Amaze Charitable Trust in Coimbatore, and national bronze medalist for cycling at the Special Olympics. Ashok Shah is a surgeon and dad to Aditya, 24-year-old graduate from Mumbai University, awaiting job placement and working towards increasing independence. And Ajay Vadakat, who's the retired commander from Indian Navy, whose son Siddharth is 18 and a wonderful teen, who lives in the moment and reminds them every day to do just that. And I am Aparna, I'm the moderator. The information discussed here is definitely not to be taken as medical advice. And if there is anything that comes up, it is to be discussed with your doctor. This session is being recorded, and if you are in Zoom, you can post your questions on the Q&A. We will run through an initial set of discussions and then take questions towards the end. And if you're on Facebook, you can put your questions or comments on the live feed. And as always, you can write into us at editor@patientsengage.com. You can reach us on the website, Facebook, Twitter, and most of our recorded videos also go up on our YouTube channel now. So let me quickly get into the discussion because we have a lot of ground to cover today. So good afternoon and thank you for joining, Ajay, Ram, and Ashok. I think I'd just like to start with, the journey, I guess, starts when your child is diagnosed, right? So if you would like to share a little bit about what that moment was like and how did you deal with that knowledge, especially in the initial years. So Ram, do you want to go first?
Sure. So yeah, for us it was, it took a very long time from finally the diagnosis came. Though we knew Nishant was different right from the beginning, but there were issues, and we were clear. We knew there were problems, but every time the doctor said no to it. So the it was more of an exploratory discovery, and honestly, I was confused, uh, frozen, and probably waiting for somebody to say that yes, this is it, this is the diagnosis. And when finally it was the diagnosis, they proclaimed the diagnosis, and that was from at the age of about 3. uh, I felt that okay, it was a kind of a relief at that point of time that there was a label associated with his condition. Okay, but well, that was, though at that point it felt good, but actually it was nothing. It meant
Hmm.
nothing.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, it was, that's about it.
Okay. Ajay?
Yeah, my journey was slightly different. Siddharth, when he was 9 months old, we realized that he was not responding to his names and stuff like that. So we went to an audiologist. We went to a pediatrician who referred us to an audiologist who said that, okay, get an audio test done. Audio test is okay. And then when he was, I think, 14 months old, again, we took him to an audiologist telling that, this is the problem. Again, the same doctor, he's a very big pediatrician in Cochin. He said, no, it's, first thing, you guys are new parents and children are like this, and all those things. Again, audio test done, he's okay. Then when he was around 18 months, we went to one of the doctors. I think we were in Vizag at that time. We went to the doctor there. He gave the child a chocolate, and we were worried. So he gave the child a chocolate, and he picked up the chocolate. Child is fine. So that's kind of depth of testing that they did at that time. And then again, we went back to this learned doctor, and we told him that maybe it is autism. Can you give us something to go with? Because I knew about autism as a young boy. I had books on what do you call abnormal psychology in my house. My father used to read a lot, so. And I knew about autism. So he said, well, if you want, I can give you a reference to Vellore Medical College. You go and check it out there. So before he was 2, I think we went there, I think the Jan of 2002, I think. And we got the diagnosis, not as autism, as developmental communication dysfunction. So the doctors want to be very light on you, and they want to be, accommodating, because he's only 2 years old, so he could become anybody.
Mm.
So they give you the most non-abrasive kind of terminology, developmental communication dysfunction. Did not know that 18 years later, he would still be having developmental communication dysfunction plus a whole bunch of other things, which
Right.
we bracket as autism. So it was not jarring for me. I just rolled up my sleeves and got cracking with what is to be done. That's all.
Right. Right. And Ashok, you are a doctor. Did that make the the diagnosis easier to accept, or was it also similarly shocking? Or tell us about your experience.
Thank you, Arpana. Uh, though I'm a doctor, I think it was more difficult for me to, in fact, find also the way to the diagnosis and get to the right person also. Initial part, even during that time, autism was even a medical college knowledge, or even with a pediatrician, the things were very short, and this thing, many of them were not aware of that. Let me tell you, the first thing, somebody who suspected about my child was a social worker from Aurangabad in Maharashtra, who runs the school for a deaf and visually challenged children. She told my wife that because he had a stagnated speech, uh, milestones were okay. He was little hyperactive, but we thought the child being hyperactive is okay. Uh, he had a stagnant speech. Whatever he was speaking till age of 2.5 years, he was continuing to speak, but There was no addition to the words and something. He said that just look for the autism. So in Mumbai again, when come back, we shown to Viva Krishnamurti, Dani, and one more neuro pediatrician. All three unfortunately gave the different diagnosis. Viva Krishnamurti said it's a PDD. Um, Rajesh Udani said it's autism, and third gentleman said it could be Asperger's. We are more confused, reading all the things, different things. I said, diagnosis not coming. And in one of the meetings, when I asked Viva that when these three diagnoses are different, are you sure? Should I take it that is just something like that? What she said is, whatever the diagnosis, don't look for the diagnosis, look for what your child needs. And after that, I think all those three terminologies changed now autism spectrum disorder.
Right.
So child can be anywhere. So that is the time. Yes, it took long time for us to accept. I was studying. Many symptoms were not there with the child. So I was thinking whether really he has. What I did was I started working on what he required. And no doubt after that, the therapy, special education, all this started. Yes, initially it was a mode of denial, definitely.
Right. Right. And all three of you have sons who are quite old now, right? Two of them are 24, one is 18. What have been the more difficult years, and how did you get through that? Ajay?
Yeah, actually, Siddharth is 18 now, 18 plus. So the time I would divide his time on Earth in three phases. One is maybe from 2 to 8, 9, then from 9 to around 14, and then 14 to 18. Because he was having issues. We were having a fantastic home-based therapy program with some of the best therapists that I have ever seen to date. And she used to just have only natural environment play. We used to pay a lot of money, and she used to just be laughing and giggling and playing with him, and we used to wonder where this money is going. But I thank her for giving us that direction. It was not any kind of desktop DTT, and all those things, and so it was perfect. But over the time, we did put him. We decided to do home-based therapy because we did not recognize the school's capabilities to help him at that stage. So when we realized the school had the capability, we sent him to that school for 2 years. But he had several setbacks, and he was getting, I think, moving into the prepubescent, pubescent stages where it really hit the high notes, you could say, in terms of irritability, anger, and all those things. So then our world sort of collapsed a bit, and we decided that I took premature retirement from the Navy at that time, and we decided to come back to Cochin to sort of contain this thing, and also to make sure that his relatives knew who he was, because we didn't want to be in some other satellite place and then they don't know who he is. Mm-hmm. And then we did a lot of allopathy, which was not working to the extent we thought it would, because he was on a whole bunch of allopathic medicines, and it was difficult. He still was not, his anger did not come down. He was in a stupor. He was in a, narcotic haze, but he was not nothing else. And we were, when we were younger parents, we were of the opinion that we should never sedate the mind we want to awaken.
Right.
So we were of the non-using of allopathic medicines at that time. But when things really came to a head, and it was either institutionalization or allopathy, we went there, and then we sort of, after some time, we moved into another kind of a system of medicine, and we removed all the allopathy. Now he is in a very beautiful space. He has his problems, which we understand are actually our problems of not understanding him rather than his problems of communication, because we are not that smart parents. He's able to try and get us to understand, and I can see the exasperation in his face when he finally gets us to understand what he's saying. So I think we need to learn. We'll keep learning from him. So
right.
That's the third phase, which is actually in a good place right now. Yeah.
Right. Ram, from your perspective, what were the most difficult years?
Yeah, I would say that first set of years was between the ages 6 and 12 for Nishant. 6 and 12 was extremely challenging because there was so many therapies, and each place we had to go. I mean, Akila was rushing between one therapy to another,
Mm,
and there was and Nishant actually had regressed in speech. I mean, he was working out well, and then after that, again it was picking up while when Akila was expecting a second child, was picking up a bit, and again it regressed. So there was a strange sense of hope that there is a possibility that he will speak, versus okay, what are the other therapies which everybody is recommending? I mean, it is like OT and PT, and then sensory integration therapy, and then there is school and
right.
accommodation in school, and then driving around between those therapies, etc. They were a very difficult situation, and somewhere during the course of that time, he picked up certain um, mm, his way of communicating dislike or distrust or anything was self-injurious, and that behavior sort of like escalated to a great extent, and we were finding it extremely challenging.
Mm,
Okay, and we didn't know whether to use what kind of medication to use, whether to sedate him or to bring about. And finally, I think we took a that's the time we did a stint in the US, and we went to the US hoping that biomedical will have some kind of support. I mean, it will support us at that point of time. But that was also proving to be very, very, it was somehow we felt a little torturous with the biomedical interventions. And we probably tried everything. Also.
mm,
And then finally, we hit upon a couple of medications like risperidone. And then after that, he calmed down a bit, and we were slowly being able to make him to communicate. And we were able to understand him to a great extent. I mean, what were the trigger points? What are the
right.
points when he would become a little aggressive? And how do we manage our flow of life along with his flow of life? And that's how things started moving well. The second phase was when between 18 and 20, when I think some gut related issues came up, and it took us some time to identify those that it was gut related issues.
Mm,
In fact, Akila had read up quite a lot on all this, and finally we hit upon that there was a lot of parasites in the stomach, and we need to do some flushing out. Hit
mm,
upon a protocol, and we started using the protocol, and that was like a savior. And I think from the first time, that was in 2014, and then gradually that. So we are at a stage now where okay, Nishant is ready. We are able to understand him. But yes, there were two very distinct phases, and they were tough.
mm,
Those were very difficult for
right.
both him and as well as us. Yeah.
Right. Right. Thanks. Ashok, did you have any
Yeah,
specific moments?
uh, in fact, when you said the difficulties, I will put it as a more challenging.
Hmm.
The challenges were different at different level of the time. Initially, thought that challenges will be little low, but yes, when he was diagnosed on this thing, he was at Aurangabad, and first till age of 5 years, definitely I was in a mode of denial that no, he may not have anything, because most of our family members saying that some children speak little late, even till the age of 5 years, some people start speaking. So we were also waiting. Luckily, again, when we had gone back to Aurangabad, there was this one gentleman who was a special educator, though he was in vernacular medium. We tried it, and touch wood, luckily, he, for 2 months therapy, aggressive therapy in the room. I don't know how many kicks he must have got from Aditya for making him speak. But luckily, he started speaking, and later on, and in fact, he has become hyperverbal. And after that, yes, it was once he was speaking all these things. We had schooling initial days. It was academic, which were popping up. Those challenges were there. Uh, After that, we started changing our priorities. We made our priorities according to the need of the child, his likings and all. So we kept the priority of academic on the side. He started doing more of his extracurricular activities and socialization, which definitely helped him to improve more in that area, including his communication level. Uh, yes, but with the age advances, your expectation increases, and when the expectation increases, challenges are going to remain. Maybe its status or it may increase.
Right, right. Um, I think we are getting feedback that there's a little bit of breaking up of your sound as well, Ashok. I don't know if you can do anything about it. We'll continue and then we can see how to address that. Ajay, you talked of all of this, and you talked of the various difficult years and how you kind of now see Siddharth as kind of being in this, living in the moment, etc. But when did you reach this stage of acceptance, or did you reach the stage of acceptance fairly on?
No, see, acceptance is actually it's a very funny term when you use the word acceptance in the developmental delays and disability sector, because what do one mean by acceptance? If we see a double amputee with prosthetic legs, does those prosthetic legs mean that he has not accepted his amputation, or what do we make of it, or he has overcome his challenges?
Right.
So I don't believe that there is something called acceptance. I believe that we accept the child. He is your son. That acceptance is always there. And then the joys he brings with whoever he is or whatever he does, that is acceptance. There is nothing more to be philosophical about acceptance or denial. That is trying to create a false dichotomy, in my opinion. Maybe because I have pre-accepted the child. Maybe.
Right.
I'm not saying that my own narrative should be, others should follow my narrative. I may have pre-accepted the child, and I may be just looking at his potentials and those kind of things, and I may be looking at there's this very one line philosophy which I have read many years ago, which by the way, they say that philosophies that can be put in a nutshell belong in a nutshell. So I'm not saying that way, but this says that being without the angst of becoming. Being without the angst of becoming. So I firmly believe for my son and for myself also, don't have the angst of becoming something or becoming somebody, or just be.
Right.
So when you, now that is the philosophy I have accepted. Now, I don't go around asking anybody, have you accepted this philosophy? Have you accepted this philosophy? No, everybody accepts things in their own way. I believe that very firmly. So that is the philosophy of my acceptance.
Right.
There is nothing more to it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. Ram, would you like to add to that, or a different perspective?
Yeah, exactly. For me, yeah, I have a different perspective of acceptance. Acceptance happens when you sort of like realize the real potential of your child, or the skills, or possibly even, yes, this is it. I mean, it's like in the there's called as the grief cycle. In the grief cycle, you go very low up to a point of depression, and at that point of depression, and then coming out of the depressive state that everybody goes through, it's more like, okay, here, this is it. This is what we have been dealt with, and from here, how do we take it forward? Okay, this is what he can do. This is what he can't do. I'm not going to push him any further. And then this point of acceptance for me, it was pretty late. I mean, and much later than, I mean, both Akila was working very hard on it and trying to bring as much as possible some kind of semblance and trying to work towards, okay, what are those learning styles, which way, what are the things we can do, etc. But I was a little far away from all those things. And then until I started interacting with Nishant, and that was probably a point when I think that's when the acceptance grew. And that was probably by that time he was 11, 12 years old by that time.
Right.
Until then, it was more of, okay, yeah, I myself I was holding myself back. I would think that is the point of acceptance is when you start interacting with your child.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Ashok, do you have anything
Yeah.
that you'd like to add?
Acceptance, I think most of the parents has initial stage of the denial. So we were, and over a period of time, when we started meeting other parents, other children, seeing them, yes, then we also started accepting what the child's challenges are. Okay. Yes, I never went for only with the diagnosis, but I went for the specific things what Aditya was facing. And all those things, once we accepted, then we started it relaxing, that what is to be accepted, what is to be told to the people, what is to be told when he goes to the school, and all these things. And yes, there was a period of depression, non-acceptance. There is a his friend circle, non-acceptance of him to be there. All these things, yes, it irritates us, but ultimately you have to balance somewhere where the things can be best for him, and we work on that.
Right. Right. Thank you, Ashok. So just a quick, I think now the feedback on your audio is much better, Ashok.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
just a reminder to everyone, I think we are full on Zoom. So, if people who've been trying to get onto Zoom can't. So you'll have to watch it on the Facebook stream, unfortunately. But we will take questions even from the Facebook feed. So we're talking to dads, and we've talked of their initial feelings. I think Ram, you've mentioned this a few times during your commentary as well. How Akila was the one who was working a lot on the various therapies, figuring out what to do, etc., etc. How did you stay connected with the process? Did you feel disconnected, uh, and at what stage did you kind of say, okay, I need to reconnect and get engaged?
Aparna, it goes back, in fact, right from the way in which we both, our nature, in which we accept, what do you say, or the way we face any issues. And that's the nature. Akila's nature is to fight, and my nature is to sort of like hold back, watch, and then after that, go ahead. But either ways, so when it came to autism, it was something like she was on the run and then I was at the back. Okay, when did I get connected? I mean, it was a time when we were very there was a point when I felt that she had done a lot and she had come down, boiled down to figuring out that it was communication is something which we need to push him through towards. And there was, and we hit upon PECs as the mode of communication. And it was new to me. I was excited about it. At that time, there was a point when I was in London, and then she said that, okay, there's a thing called Flash Pro, etc. Why don't you buy it? I mean, this will be prior to that. Okay, she sat down. She used to do a lot of. So there was a point. I mean, I felt that is when I started. Uh, I started getting involved, especially like. When to help Nishant to communicate his basic needs.
Mm.
That's again, yeah, around the age of 9 or 10 or something like that. I mean, if I remember, sometime when he was around that age, and that's what that was when I felt that, okay, there was a point when we could sort of like, I got into the group. Until then, I was at the background, or rather
Right.
disconnected. I would say.
Right.
Yes, you're right.
Right.
Disconnected. Yeah.
Ashok, you'd like to add anything to that?
In this, in my case, have I audible properly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In my case, I think we both parents are professionals. So it was probably equal distribution of the things that I had to do and she has to do along with our professional life. Only thing is, it's Aditya who made me involved with him more. With the incidents, one of the incidents that when he was around 5 years old and my mother-in-law was to be operated for heart surgery at Wokat in Mulund, which is quite far away from here. I had to leave early. So before he came from the school, I just left. Thought there's no point in informing him that I'm going to be late or something like that. Unfortunately, the surgery had postponed till in the night 11 p.m. And I was in OT, there was no network, so I could not contact or they could not contact. The surgery got over at 4 a.m. I came back at 5 a.m. and I saw Aditya sitting on the lap of my servant and at the door, waiting for me that Papa will come, Papa will come. And this was going on from 2 p.m. to early in the morning, 5 a.m. That time I realized that no, he expects me to be with him on the time when I am supposed to be there. So from that time onwards, I make it a point. Because my profession is a doctor, sometimes I do get an emergency, but I make it a point to inform him that I'm going for this thing. I'll be late till this time. He specifically asks the time exactly. I say that I will take 2 hours. I might save half an hour extra also. And then he accepts that, okay, you can go there, but come back this time. If I don't reach, you'll call back. Why you're late again? So I tell him it's still getting some time. So he accepts that. But yes, that thing made me realize that I have to get involved with him. And usually I love to play with kids and this thing. In the initial days, we were together in rest of the time. I used to play with him cricket and other things. So we were enjoying our days.
Right. Right. Ajay, in your case, you also kind of, this ties in with, you rethinking and reworking your career priorities as well, right? So
That's true.
do you want to kind of talk us through how you kind of,
Yeah, I did a very simple thing. I evaluated where I had reached in my life and where my son was in his point of life and who needed more help. I didn't need much help. I didn't need much money. I didn't need much help. I didn't need, anything. But my son needed everything. So I thought that I was very privileged to have been in the Navy. The Navy gave me a posting in a very soft billet in Bangalore. And we got transferred to Bangalore and we just got cracking with the therapy. We used to do play therapy. It's very exhausting for the parent to do play therapy for 2 hours, but we had to design the house, reconstruct, remodel the park. We had targets, we had goals. So we initially we used to do it with extreme focus and all that. Then later on we realized that we should also pull back and be parents as well as therapists. I mean, don't be therapists at all, just be parents. So how do we marry those two things? But we did. I think Preeti and I did a fairly good job to marry the needs of therapy in a natural situation. And we had our therapist doing the heavy lifting of teaching him skills and things like that. So we concentrated on being parents. That would mean having sort of 3 or 5 goals while taking for a walk, having 3 or 5 goals while taking to the park, while reading a book, having short goals and no expectation of any results or anything like that. So I took a dive in my career, so which I thought that was not as important. The Navy helped me a lot with my posting. And so I was hands-on from maybe when he was 3.5 onwards, because we knew early intervention and all those things. It's not that Siddharth has moved vastly or anything because of those therapies, but we are happy we were able to provide him those therapies. We are happy to have been able to engage him in that particular manner when he was in that particular need. I don't see it anymore as What is the outcome? Is he speaking? No, he is not speaking. Is he potty trained? Yes, he is potty trained. Does he need help in washing his bum? Yes, he needs help. So I'm not looking at stellar things. I'm looking at one thing at a time and be in that moment. Nothing to worry about. Things will happen. I used to be worried, will he learn how to wear his t-shirt properly? He does it. We didn't teach him. He does it on his own. Now, maybe 5 years before he used to start doing it. So there are many things we haven't taught him. And one problem with autism is people say that they don't learn from the environment. They have to be taught every small little thing. That's not true. You keep doing what you're supposed to do. Keep helping him with the help that you can provide him. They will learn. Don't beat yourself up just because they didn't learn it in 2 repetitions or 3 repetitions. Don't do that as a parent, I mean.
Right. Good. I think for you, Ram, that was quite a challenging process, right? Given reworking and rethinking your career, because you had a career which is technology and management consulting. It was about being on top. That by definition requires that you're constantly learning, you're constantly out there, putting in the long hours. So how did you marry the two, the work priorities as well as what you needed to do as a father?
Yeah, Aparna, it had to be a paradigm shift at a point of time. So I moved into technology, and in technology, then you need to keep yourself market ready for the next wave of technology which comes in. And there are times when things go wrong. And this was in 1999 when I was ERP ready, while the market just dropped. And then I was so dropped, and then many of us who were trained as ERP consultants were literally sitting on the bench for a long time. And fortunately, yes, I moved countries and from Singapore to India, and India was picking up at that point of time. Yes. And then again, at that point of time, the implementations went down, and then after that, support was there. So it was a very hard decision. I said that if I don't, there was a project, I was a key member ready to go to London to do that particular project. And on the other side here, there was, it was a very crucial stage. And I was trying to think that should it be career versus thing. If I lose out on this, I lose out on my market value. But if I lose out on, and I didn't think too much on what would be the kind of loss, which now when I look back, yeah, I do regret it. And I do feel guilty that I did make a wrong choice at that point of time. And we could have worked things better, because it was a very challenging phase with Nishant at that point. Yeah. Then later on, it was more of like every time. It was probably after that incident. I think it was like I sort of like put in my blocks of time, and I said that it's between 9 to 5 it's work while I'm working, and post 5 or 6, unless it's absolutely urgent, the world is falling apart or something like that, I think I will take a back. And yes, I have suffered, and then a few times there have been official meetings which I have missed, because it's it is more of a need. It is sometimes if meetings are going to be called at about 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. at night, it's not going to work out unless it's like the world falling apart. So I had to make that decision and sort of like, okay, this is my end time, and this is where I will move out. And it has worked. And yeah, stresses have been there both ways. But to a great extent, I've been able to balance out time with family versus and also the time at work. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it takes time to work it out.
Right. Ashok, for you as somebody with your own practice, was that an easier decision or a more difficult decision? Because in India, for instance, doctors work very long hours, right? So how do you
Yeah.
manage that?
Yeah. See, for me, even though I was in a profession, yes, initially there was a lot of work, and I was doing a lot of work and this thing. Sometimes I was to miss, but when
Can you
that
speak up a
incidents
little
of that
bit, Ashok?
surgeries,
Yeah, speak up.
yeah, yeah, am I? Yeah,
Yeah.
because of that incidents with Aditya, when he was waiting down, I thought that no, he needs me on time also. So I had a liberty to curtail my work, what is to be done, what is not to be done, prioritize, except the emergency. And for emergencies, he was okay with me if I had to go any odd hours. Best thing in my part is uh, I did not have to travel too much, because in the same place I have my hospital and my residence also. So not traveling time. The rest of the time I could spend with my child. So that was a good enough for me to spend good time with him.
Right,
So that helped a lot for
right,
creating more bonding also.
right. So I think moving in from balancing being a dad and work to also the relationship with your partner or your spouse as well, right? So what are the learnings that you would like to share? Because we also have a question related to that, which is saying that what would you like to tell younger dads? What's your advice on how they stay engaged and active member of the family as we are witnessing more divorces, more separations in families? So how should a couple navigate those difficult years? What were the things that you've learned based on your own experience? And I understand you're not experts, but based on your own experience. Ajay?
Yeah, for me, Preeti is also a working person. I mean, she is an artist and she does the work. She had kept that away for a long time, but we encourage her to continue that work. There has to be a partnership. There has to be an understanding between the husband and the wife. This autism entering your life post the acceptance and everything is a resolve to do the best by your child. And when I say your, it is the father's and the mother's child. And that resolve has to be there. It is somehow inbuilt in the mothers, I agree. That resolve has to be there with the father too. And also, sort of not to be not to beat yourself up that you're not doing anything, but know that if she's spending 24 hours with your child, how many hours or how many minutes can you give her some respite for? You have to understand that. I mean, there are journals that say that a mother's stress is that much of a combat soldier under attack. So that kind of stress levels we don't wish for anybody. And you have it in your power as a father, as a dad. You have it in your power to reduce that stress. You would not want that stress upon you. In your workplace, if you had that kind of stress, you would ask for another billet. So why are you allowing that in your house? That your wife is going through that, and you are pretending, or you are actually oblivious of it. I'm telling you right now, your wife is having stress. She needs to be helped.
Right, right. Ram?
Yeah, for me, based upon my experience and from our journey, what I would like to tell younger dads is that be a part of the therapeutic process. Get onto the same page. Get onto the same page with your wife. Understand what is the disability about. Both of you should be talking in the same language. There should not be a gap between. And then also get to know, try to spend more time in trying to understand, sort of like discuss the abilities and the challenges of your child together, because it's a partnership. And like uh, Ajay said, it's a partnership, and both have to sort of exercise the same amount of rigor as well as the same amount of love, okay, and passion, yes, to help the child move forward. And when there is a gap between either the knowledge or with respect to the skill levels, especially with the knowledge of the child as well as the disability between the spouses, then there is sure to be a conflict. And that is
Right.
something which impacts the child's progress.
Right.
This is
Right.
what I would like to. I like to tell them to, yeah, please go ahead, get involved, try to understand your kid also, in whichever way you want.
Right.
Very true.
Ashok?
Yeah. In my case, I think best thing, my father-in-law had made a statement initial stage when we were in a mode of denial, unacceptance, stress, and this thing that this child has come to you because God has thought that you people are capable of going to be capable of taking care of this child. And yes, then we thought that this is our child, and he's accepted the way he is, and from that on we moved on. Yes, there is a balance. There has been conflict. There has been argument. Everything is there like any other family. But ultimately, the child becomes a final goal. Yes, we enjoyed our own profession. We had like every couple. We also had some arguments and other things. But ultimately, when child comes, we come together. We discuss the things, and we help each other for betterment of a child. That's how we move on.
Okay. Thank you. Do you also recommend seeking, help in terms of marital counseling or couples counseling, etc.? Any views on that, Ram, Ajay?
Yeah, I would say yes, very important, because see, it's not something. First of all, as fathers, I mean, mothers was always have like either their own mothers or uh, their mothers-in-law, grandmothers, etc. Sort of like understand what it is means to be a mother.
Mhm.
Okay, and and they do give the tips right from the time right from conception to etc. So unfortunately, fathers are not treated like that. I mean, for them it is like, sorry to be crude, but then other than the biological interference, I mean, you're not told anything else, and you're said that as long as you give the sperm, that's it, and then after that, it happens.
Right.
So, but that's not the case. That's not the case, which is with respect to, especially when you know there is a difficulty with the kid. At that point of time, it's not like, okay, chalta hai, life will take care of itself and things will move on. There is a lot of stress, and the stress comes from various factors. One is with respect to how do you steer the kid towards the thing, and then autism as such has not yet. I mean, things there are a lot of research going on, but nobody knows what is the right way to do this. Plus, it's a spectrum, and so it is a pretty stressful period. And if it reaches a point, I mean, if there is a break point, if you do reach a break point, and that happened to us, I think it is very important to seek some professional help to set you back on the path.
Right.
I mean, because
Right.
it's not something that it's not. There's nothing wrong in it. It's for you
Correct.
to maintain your balance.
Right.
Otherwise, the family becomes dysfunctional. That's the thing. And so, yes, seeking professional help is very much required. But again, the people have to be ready for it. They should be ready to say that, okay, yes, I do need.
Right.
Okay. Otherwise, being pushed towards it, if the mom pushes the dad towards and says that go seek professional help, there's going to be resistance. But
Yeah.
that's not going to
Right.
happen.
Correct. And that's
Both
what
have
we
to, I
hear.
mean, you have to realize, and I realized it. I did realize that things were not going the right way, and I did seek professional.
Right. Right. Quick question to, I think, Ajay, you probably are better equipped to handle this. There's somebody who's asked on Facebook, I work as a mariner in Merchant Navy, though. My job requires me to stay 4 to 5 months away from home. My wife is a professional as well. How can we help our child? It's quite broad, but if you have any quick thoughts
No,
on it.
I mean, except that we are seafarers and fellow travelers, it is very difficult. That setup, whatever he has described, defines a serious problem, which we can't because here having contact, having physical contact, being in the same room, being in the same house is an important part of it. I regret sometimes in my work takes me 20 days out. Now I'm trying to see whether I can, overcome that somehow, those kind of things. Particularly when the child needs you, if you can take a furlough for 2 years or something like that and see whether something works out, because this is a contact sport. It is
Right.
not something you can do on the internet. Autism parenting is a contact sport. So there's no other way of doing it. I'm sorry that I don't have anything better to say on that.
Right. Right.
And one part I have to agree with Ram about seeking help. You must seek. I'm not even saying that seek when you're at the end of your tether. Seek when you're even having the slightest problem. Speak when you have any kind of a issue that you need to lift from your chest. Speak to a friend, speak to a fellow parent. I think there's a whole bunch of parents, dad groups are there. Speak individually. There's no point speaking into broadcasting the issue, but speak to one or two parents. Try and see whether there is some resonance in what they are telling you. But seek. Don't wait for anything at the end. And let me tell you, believe that the mom is always right, at least 99.10% of the time. Because most of the time they are, unfortunately, for us. So you do the seeking. Don't ask her to go and seek help. You do the seeking. Let us man up and get this job done, folks. That's all I have to say. Most important thing. I keep telling my friends that your child might not be everything that you wish for in a child, but you can be the best dad that any child can wish for. Any child can wish for. You should live your life as if your child should feel that they won the jackpot in the dad lottery,
Right.
What is stopping you from doing that? That's my message.
Okay, great. I think the other thing that comes up is also the broader support system, right? The family network, etc. So did you try, especially because, as you said, you travel, both of you travel, Ashok, maintain a hectic schedule as well, and your wife works as well. Did you try and influence the relationship and the acceptance of your child by the family of, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins? How did that work out? What worked, what didn't work? Because that's something that often families do struggle with, right? That they don't have that support from the grandparents that they're expecting, or they don't have that support from an uncle or something like that. So how did you navigate that, and how do you suggest for others? Ram?
Aparna, it was one was education. I mean, sort of like every time, tell our relatives, etc., as to what is Nishant, what are his behaviors, and typically what we need to do. I remember once what we did was we had been to a series of friends' houses, and Akila prepared one whole list of things. Please don't keep chocolates in the fridge. Please put this, and then he has this vegetarian food, and we would restrict it to vegetarian food because non-veg doesn't agree with him, and a lot of pointers. And typically, prefer that if you have bed available at around the thing. And so we sent it out because we were going to go for a party to their place, and it was totally new. It was a new person whom we met. Yeah, that sort of like. Now, amongst the close relatives, yes, within our primary circle, etc. Yeah, we had to. There was a. It was more of an education, and every time keep talking about, okay, what are the achievements? What Nishant is capable of? What are his likes? What are his, just like any other child? And so that, and also every time, I mean, we try our best that we make a visit to the relative's house once without Nisha, so that we are aware of, okay, what are the points, where we need to be careful of before taking him there, okay, so that it doesn't create any embarrassing moments. Yeah,
Mm.
to keeping in, that is a, that to a great extent has helped us, because at least the relatives and friends talk to us about Nishanta, among other various other things, and support. But yeah, to a great, that's where I would leave it at that. So we did spend time in trying to, we would keep talking to them about Nishant and their disability. Yeah, that's all
Right,
it is.
right, right. And um, you came back to Cochin, right, Ajay? And clearly you came back to be closer to the family and so on. So tell us how you kind of facilitate. Did you have to work to facilitate acceptance? Because there is, and it is kind of natural as well. Most, you know, elders in the family have a certain expectation of what the grandchild will be, and there is that disappointment, the dealing with the what is called ambiguous loss, right? So how do you support that process, even, and it's tough as a parent when you yourself are going through all of this, but to also kind of help the grandparents deal with it, or build that support network.
Actually, I might not be the correct representative to bring out a sob story, because I have only a happy story to talk about.
Mm.
Both my side, my Preeti side and my side, everybody were, the resolve was there. Everybody was, no, he's our child, let's do what we have to do.
Mm.
So whether it was getting some stuff from the US, or getting, calling him for their birthday parties, or earlier on, after I told you, between the ages of 9 to around 14, it was tough. But other than that, going to their houses in the evenings, on Saturday night, staying up till 12 in the night, and he loves to be around people.
Mm.
He loves that. So and he's got three nieces who bully him and pounds on him and rough him up, and we just we are so happy that that kind of a setup exists for him. We didn't have too much of tuition for our parents, my parents, or my mom, or her parents. They sort of fell into the line. They don't know how to interact many times, but they don't pretend to be frightened, or they don't pretend to be like when he rushes to them, even though they're 80 years old, and they don't. So that kind of an acceptance is there, and this has been there for the longest time.
Right.
So, but I'm very aware of because I'm as a parent who has been through this for some time. I've had a lot of people telling me about the difficulties that they face with their parents. It is a education, just like Ram was saying. You have to educate, maybe in small doses, and then maybe move it up to industrial strength doses of education, but move it up slowly. This is him. He has his very good moments, and this is when he's maybe take videos and show that he can be like this, provided you lose your anxiety around him, or you lose your guardedness around him. So maybe take short videos. I would really recommend that. In the child is good, and in Siddharth's case, we have a lot of videos. He keeps seeing that on his iPad, which again is reinforcing for him. So I don't know, maybe that would help.
Right, right. Um, and the other thing, I think, because I'm just conscious that we are already hit the 1 hour mark, and we do want to take a few more questions. The role of dads in socialization, right? because one of the things I think we've noticed is that when dads take the kids out and out in the public, they actually face much less negative commentary from people around. Whereas when mothers take, they definitely do hear, you know, I think as a society, we think that we have the right to question the mother or the woman, whereas dads tend to not get questioned as much. So therefore, do you think that dads have a bigger role to play in socializing, you know, so that the disability is visible, and therefore we build acceptance at a society level, right? So Ashok, can you talk about it, because you are very, you take him everywhere. You take Aditya to
Yeah,
your Lions
yeah,
Club, you take him out to your workplace, etc. So can you start on that
yeah.
as well?
To be very frank, Aditya has been all the time is more of a visual learner.
Mm,
So he learned many of the things, etiquettes and other things from me. And I have to be very careful for any untoward behavior from my side. So he made me always cautious that I have to behave properly. Second
right.
thing is, yes, he loved to be socialized. He loved to go out. And as and when, except my profession, for this thing, if I'm going for any social visit, friend meeting, he'll say, Papa, should I come? I said, most welcome.
Mm,
And most of the time he has accompanied us. And at that place also, the people, luckily in a Lions Club or his own Leo Club, the members were so fully accepting him. And it was wonderful experience for him. Only two occasions which he also made me realize that once he had somebody in a building had a birthday party. Most of the other children were invited except Aditya.
mm,
And Aditya was after me, Papa, I want to go, I want to go. And I just asked my neighbor children that you take Aditya. And they said that, Uncle, why, how can I take him when he's not invited? I said, let him take the gift, let him give the gift, and let him come back. But
mm,
still, unfortunately, he could not go. On his next birthday, he he made all the list of children to be invited. The first name he wrote was the person who had not invited him for the birthday. He arranged beautifully everything, including his gift, cake, return gifts, everything. That is first time I was learning how you can arrange a beautiful birthday party.
mm,
And he made me realize that yes, he needs to be accepted by all. Even she also realized, out of shame probably she did not come, but most of the other kids came. They enjoyed everything, and it was a wonderful experience. Second
right.
time, I think there was a Leo Club. First time when he had joined, that was first year, or that they had the celebration of Leo birthday. It was in a night party. They and next day it was 24th April, and Adit's birthday is 25th April. I said, yeah, let him celebrate with his friend the birthday in the night. So I requested those people, and they said, Uncle, there will be a lot of sound, noise, dance, and all these things. Aditya may be uncomfortable. I just told them, just take him. He will be comfortable. I knew. In case he is not comfortable, you give me a call. I am just 10 minutes away from you by car. I'll come pick him up and tell this thing. Don't worry about that. So
Mm,
luckily, with my force enforcement and this thing, they took him. I was literally scared, keeping my car key in my pocket, sitting and waiting for the phone that some phone will come. Unfortunately, phone did not come for 2 hours. It was started 9 p.m., 11 p.m. and the phone didn't come. I had to call them up. So they said, Uncle Aditya is enjoying, man. In fact, he's making us enjoy more. So another two calls I made. After that, I forgot. They all come back by 1:30, and they
right.
really enjoyed it. And
Right.
that made them also realize that no, Aditya can be the part of everything.
Right.
And with that, I think in the school also they took him for the scout and guide trip picnic for 3 days. And no doubt that 3 days was little scary for me. My wife was this thing, but principal made us that no way he is going. So we send him there. And
Right.
that is how he started staying away from us also comfortably.
Right. Okay. Sure, Ajay.
I have one point. See, about socializing besides the family circle. I've had a lot of instances where because Siddharth loves to walk around with chains, and sometimes he looks at people, and it's obvious that he is. There are some issues with him. So there used to be a lot. When I was younger, I used to just go and pick off that person, whoever it was, wherever it was. There was an instance when I was going for a walk in the morning, and suddenly Siddharth started bawling, and he was on the floor. This was supposed to be a good morning walk, me time with child. And then this old person comes and says, "What's wrong with him?" I just told him to get lost in no uncertain terms. And he didn't understand, because I can't handle two people at that time. So I have my limits of.
Correct.
So I used to be like that, but off late, maybe maturity and maybe just the sheer tiredness of having to have gone through this for so long, I engage them in a much more humane way. I see them as people who need understanding rather than rebuke. But I want to advise all dads, you go through that first phase first, so that you don't do that when you are in your 60s and try and fight somebody who is 30.
But you also, I think both. Okay, go ahead, Ram, first, and then I'll ask my follow-up.
Yeah, so I really don't agree with the aspect of, you're generalizing it in the sense like moms get more of the rebuke as well with respect to dads. Because I do remember an incident when we were at a temple, and nearby a temple there was a playground, and Nishant was there and he was playing around. And anybody could make out that yes, I had a problem with him. And there was one old man standing over there, and this was at Ragiguda temple in Bangalore, and that's like the temple is in a hillock, and we were right at the bottom, and there was a playground over there, and this man was standing over there, and he's saying that it's a curse on the parents for having a child like this. And I was standing next to him, and so that time my blood was started boiling immediately. And then after that, I looked at him, and he still didn't get the point. And then after that, I didn't know who he was talking to, but he was actually looking at that child, and then thought I would respond. So I said, "I am the father." That person immediately, at the moment I said that, he just turned away and walked off, and that was it. So it is like there are times when you take your kid over there, there are times that people don't understand it in a sense, and like Ajay said, yes, we have to go through that phase, because unless you go through that phase,
Correct,
you will not understand how to deal with it in a more patient way. You have to let your blood boil. You have to throw the curses down. You have to make them feel like crap, and then probably that's when you will get the strength to say that, okay, I think I need to teach the guy a lesson in a different way.
Right.
At the end of it, what we are trying to teach them a lesson. Initially, yes, we tend to become very emotional and sort of like aggressive at times. But over a period of time, we mellow down as age increases, and we mellow down. But the anger and the thing will continue. I'm sure it will continue forever.
So I guess the anger is a better response, right? Because initially what often happens is that the parent feels bad about it, himself or herself, right? Because
no, not for me.
Not for you, good. But I have heard.
No, but that's post-realization, Ajay. That's post.
In most cases, that guy is going to feel bad for himself.
Ashok, sorry, you were saying something.
But one of the incidents that occurred was Aditya was playing down alone. He was sitting on one of the some person's scooter and just playing with it. Suddenly that gentleman came. He said, "Why you are sitting on my scooter? You are spoiling these things." He pulled his ear. He just pinched him. and this thing, and Aditya got so, we were not there. But Aditya came home, he started throwing tantrums, and he made a lot of havoc. We realized that this gentleman had behaved badly with him. No doubt I was very upset. I was angry. I was going to fight with him. Luckily, my wife and my servant make me cool down.
Right.
And then my servant took him down along with the other society members. They called that gentleman. They asked him what you have done with this child, and he is supposed to. He had to apologize. He allowed Aditya to kick him, again pinch him, pull his hair, and then he went a little bit calmed down. He realized that what is made a mistake.
Right.
But we have to go a little bit, we have to balance the things.
Right, right. I guess this is a question that has come in. What role do friends of kids have in their development after a certain age, and how do we fill that gap? It's a tricky one, but who wants to take that? Sure. Yeah, Ashok.
In Aditya's case, until I think 5th standard, yes, he was going to the special educator and having tuition and this thing. After that, it was becoming hectic, lot of hectic things and this thing. So I was looking for some good teacher in my area, near around. So few of my patients suggested this teacher is good. I went to her, spoke. I went alone first, spoke to her. This is the thing, these are the things, and this thing. And she's definitely a very good teacher. She's Sangeeta Iyer, and she's our fellow line member also. So he said, I have not taken this type of kids, but you send for 1 month. Let me see how can I tackle. And then if I am comfortable, he's comfortable, we'll continue. I said, fine, that was a good thing. And I started sending him. Yes, initially there was issues and this thing. Aditya was feeling a little shy, but the way I said, he was more of a visual learner. The way other children were behaving, the way they were studying, he was also making a point that he's studying like them.
Right.
He was sitting quiet and this thing. He all these things learned. Yes, there were few children who were bullying him that time, but when there are 2 children who are bullying, there are other 8 children who are supporting him.
Right.
So those atmosphere of 8, 10, 15 children will always help him to more socialize, having more friends there. And they always used to enjoy the parties, and every end of the year they used to party and all these things. So Aditya was invited. In fact, Aditya, after he left the tuition, also he's being invited. And at one of the fun school where initial days in KG was attending, annual function, he is every year invited. In last 2 years, he's invited as a guest also, and he used speech there.
Right. Okay, good. I'm starting to take a few questions because there's a few out there. I'm a father of 2 dynamic sons, both of them on the spectrum. I'm a working professional. My wife's a housewife. However, we are finding it difficult to manage both the kids as they demand lots of energy and time. And my job their requirements are different. My job consumes lots of time, thus not able to contribute much. Please suggest how to balance.
It's not, it has, you have to segue gradually into a different frame. For a moment, I'm not going to even imagine how difficult it is in that household and trivialize the real difficulties that the parents are having. The only way, what we did is that we don't try and see, can I give my son 8 hours of therapy? We, of course, we did that at one time, but later on we realized that, can I sit 5 minutes with him doing one thing?
Absolutely.
On that day. That's all.
Right.
No lofty targets, no lofty ideals, nothing. Just simple, can I spend 5 minutes with him on that day? Can I try and do it daily? I'm hoping that there is some kind of therapy sessions also for the children. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult, because I can imagine the mother and the father sitting in the office with the anxiety of having the situation. But other than the therapy time, try and spend 5 minutes, and do not even think of 6th minute or 7th minute. When it comes, it will come. You be thankful for that extra time you have with your meaningful engagement with your child. I'm not saying that after 5 minutes you walk away. I'm talking about meaningful engagement, and try and move those meaningful engagements forward. sometimes when I say meaningful engagement with Siddharth, he's 18 years old, but just tickling him and poking him around is meaningful engagement as far as I'm concerned. So it is not as if whether he learned quadratic equations. That is not the bar I set for meaningful engagement.
Right.
I think that's what you can try and do.
Correct.
We have to move forward, guys. To the father, we have to move forward, and this is the only way. One step at a time.
Right.
I remember there's a sentence by Dante. He says, "The firm foot is always the one below." So when you're doing this climb, your firm foot is the one below. Every step you take is an uncertain step.
Right.
But we take it. We parents take it. We dads take that step. That's what I want to give you that belief.
Right.
I just wanted to add into what
Sure.
Ajay was saying. I mean, yes, it's very. I mean, even to think about. I mean, what that dad is going through. It's quite a challenge. I mean, that household is huge. There is a point, and if you can afford it, I mean, this is totally depending upon the economic status and the kind of professions each one is in, what are they in. If you can afford it, I think it's important for the dad to take a break from career and also to the mom. I mean, the mom in this case is a homemaker, but yes, for the dad to take a break from the career and sort of reorganize and realign himself. Because many a time, I mean, if you're going to sit at work and think about what is at home, what's happening at home, you're not going to be productive at work either. I mean, so you're not productive at home. So forget it. So either ways, it's a setup for failure. And, so it's better to take a step back, realign yourself, and then think of, okay, what is the best way to go about things.
Right.
If the economic situation permits.
Right.
Else, you got to think about it in a different way. I mean, you got to think about like what Ajay said. Yes, you need to balance it out in seeing the kind of how much of time can you contribute. And yes, it's very, very important to take that break, because I remember once I was watching a video when one of the dads said, like, the moment I get into the house, I mean, I hang all my worries on the Buddha tree, which is outside, and
Right.
that is it. And then after that, it is what happens in the house. That's all I take. I don't even carry what I bring in. It's a very tough job, but I guess that's the way we have to be. Yeah.
Right.
Can
Right.
I?
Yeah.
Can I?
Sure. Ashok.
Yeah. In this case, I think I can understand the parents' issue. Having two children, we always say that एक ने नाक में दम कर दिया, दो तो जान ले लेंगे. But in that case, I think once you, as Ajay said, if you spend a quality time with the child, I think it's good enough, even in spite of your busy schedule. Another solution to this is, and which I have done it personally, and it has helped tremendously, is keep a good caretaker at home who stay with you 24 hours, and he becomes like a friend or elder brother to your son or child. And when he stays there, lot of things ease out, the pressure ease out from the wife or mother or father, both. Because
Right.
ultimately he has got somebody as a friend or brother who is taking care of the things. Just you have to see the things of his reliability and other things. But yes, we were very lucky that we one boy staying with us for almost 22 years with us, and he ultimately told us that he is staying with us only because of for Aditya, because he loved Aditya more.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Just trying to address, I think there are a couple of very specific questions. I'm not going to take those. It's stuff like how to teach your child to differentiate hitting behavior versus self-defense. I think those are very, very specific questions. I think there was the one interesting question was, and this I think comes up again and again, how do you figure out that the skills that can help your child for life and also potentially become source of earnings? So I think I'll I know Ajay feels very strongly on this, so I'll let him go first.
My only thing is, off late in the special needs sector, people keep talking everybody is good at something. Now, somewhere it has moved into everybody is good at something that will pay the rent. I don't. What if my son cannot earn a living? Let us pretend that is the reality and move forward. Because to have him have a full life does not involve being able to earn. I don't think so. Not where he is. So everybody is good at something that will pay the rent is not the correct way to do it. Everybody is good at something. You know what my son is good at making me smile. So that is a big deal for me. He's good at going for swimming. That is the kind of joy that we need to get, and that's good enough. That something is good enough for us. Trying to look at this earning, that's another problem. I deal a lot with special needs in the art field. I find that, to tell the truth to all parents, a student from art school becomes an artist by around 25 or something like that. But we have 12-year-old, 14-year-olds, we think that they've already become artists. And we want their next gallery show. We are also having extremely unrealistic expectations from our children. I think, come on, let them mature. My brother is an artist. He was practicing art from the age of 18. It was when he was 40 that he had his first show. So why are we so adamant that we have got this, everybody is good at something? Well, a problem is that we are trying to find that something. We are trying to find, no, there is something. I told you once before, Aparna, when we spoke, my son has garden variety autism, plain vanilla, nothing exotic about him. So your child may be the same. 90% of children with autism are the same.
Correct.
So we keep talking about this, the big things that the child will come out, Einstein and Newton, and I think now Bill Gates also. Perish the thought. That's all I can say. Perish the thought. Yes, he will reach his potential. Never let him fall down from there. That is your job. If you go seeking for heaven, you will never find it here.
Right.
That's all I have to say about this. I have very strong feelings about thinking that everything is to be tailored towards monetizing everything.
Right.
I don't think so. If he does, well and good. But
Sriram, I'm just trying to quickly get through questions. Ashok, do you have something that you would quickly like to add? Because there's a question which may be useful.
Every child has got some good abilities or something they are good at it. In my case, Aditya is good at, he has a splinter ability of remembering everyone's birthday, dates, and all these things. So he uses to his advantage in the getting socialized or friendship or something like that. Because even his friend thinks that, oh, he's little extraordinary by remembering his dates and all these things. So you just work on what he is good at. In fact, what you are supposed to do is enter in his world, look at from his angle what he is good at, what he can do it, so that you get the path where you have to lead to your child.
Right. Okay. So here's a question. Though I'm completely aware of my 5-year-old's condition, as a dad, I lose my patience when he throws tantrums. Later, I regret it. Can you suggest anything?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, I think Ram. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. See, the point of regression is that regret. I perfectly understand it. I mean, it is more of a guilty, a feeling that, okay, I could have handled it better, but you do feel bad about it. You carry it very deeply within yourself, and then you start looking at, okay, what can I do the next time? And how can I do this thing? Because once it is over, I mean, you can't do anything about it. The incident is over. You created the bad feeling yourself as well as for, I don't know about the child, whether the child will carry any bad feeling within themselves, but you certainly have created that. We need to understand about something about tantrums and meltdowns. Well, that is their way of communicating. And once we look at it from that perspective, I mean, we start looking at it, okay, what is it? Why is that behavior manifesting, and what is behind? What's the intent behind that behavior, which is being manifested as a tantrum or as a difficult thing, etc. So if you look at it from that perspective, then maybe there could be some answer to whatever you're saying, and you will not leave with a bad feeling. So I'm just giving a pointer towards any side to look at, but I don't think that is. I would be able to give anything specific, any specific answer until I know what exactly happened.
Sure,
that.
sure.
I
Yeah,
just have
Ajay.
a quick button. Is yes, as parents, we sometimes do that same role, and we give them a whack once in a while, which is not correct in any case, but we do, and we feel sorry for it. Feeling sorry for it is the beginning of trying to find some kind of a response. I remember that I had Siddharth has this nagging behavior of constantly asking you for something. Now it is not actually he wants to ask you for something. He wants that thing. He wants you to acknowledge that thing. That's all. And I used to find it very difficult in my head to process that until I saw an extremely high functioning young man who had an articulation, he had speech, he was talking about something. He used to ask that politely, and his mom also used to reply politely in a very nice way. And this was going on in front of me, and I said, oh my God, Siddharth has a similar issue in terms of wanting to connect constantly with me, but I'm misjudging it and I'm seeing it as a nuisance rather than I wouldn't even say a teachable moment, but a moment of connect rather than. So I rewired myself, and I tried to make it a point that, okay, every time he says that, I will reply. And I will think in my head of that particular scenario, which I learned. I did not know this. No therapy will teach you this. You see somebody else, it working for somebody else in a higher functioning plane. He is in a low functioning plane. So he'll hold your hand or he will ask you. But that's it. So we learn from each other, these things. I think that's what it is.
Right. And I think there's an interesting question. What do your wives think about your contribution? Have you ever asked them?
Not enough. They're never satisfied.
घर के मुर्गी दाल बनाओगे.
I think you can have that session later.
Yes, I'll have to get feedback separately.
You can have the session with the moms. Huh? Yeah.
What is the real challenge and opportunity of fathers in comparison to mothers when dealing with the child? Is there any difference?
No, I think from the child's perspective, I don't see any difference. From the mother and father's perspective, is the father losing a career opportunity? That kind of introspection may need to be done. But from the child's perspective,
sometimes mothers also lose career opportunities. So
they lose it from the get-go.
Correct.
So they lose it from the get-go. Unfortunately, I know that even in my own case, that's what has happened. I mean, so. But from the child's point of view,
I don't think you can compare.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you can't compare, correct.
You can't compare. I mean, it's a question of, it's a partnership. I mean, it's a question of like who, I don't know, you want to look at losing a career as your career opportunity as a sacrifice. If you want to look at it in that person, then we'll always live in a regretful state.
Correct.
Okay, then, but if you want to look at, it, see here, I'm getting an opportunity to deal with a disorder. And in fact, today, to be honest, I'm very happy because many of my classmates, especially schoolmates and college mates, etc., whose children are married and then who have left them, they are actually feeling a little bored between themselves, and then they take on, they go on holidays and etc. But for us, I think it's a lifelong sort of like something is worked out for us till the end of our lives. So I think I'm happy that something is going to keep me occupied also. Yeah.
I just got to tell you one. I just got it from my notes. This is told by Captain Mullah, who went down with the kukri
with the ship
during the war.
Yeah.
She said, her dad said, never call your best action a sacrifice. If one fights for a cause, it is because one cannot live with any other way of being. So
you have a ready reckoner of all these appropriate quotes.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
You see the number of books behind him.
No, these are the stars that guide you in the night, in the dark night of despair or whatever you can conjure up. These are the stars. These are the shining stars that help guide you, your thoughts, your actions, and that's why.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
No more.
Sure. Go ahead, Ashok.
Yeah, when a wife is, Sriram said that leaving a job is a sacrifice. I think they also have other opportunities. So many of the parents or the mothers have become a good psychologist or special educator, and they are in fact better special educators than even a qualified one, because they have handled their child. They know the nitty-gritty. They know how to speak, how to this thing, and they're leading more successful centers. No. So you can choose other options also.
Right. And I do think that, there is no reason why dads could not do the same, but we will rest at that.
No, I'm sure. I mean, there are dads picking up
correct.
slowly.
Correct.
I remember one in the US. I remember somebody was trying to sell they were trying to sell at that time something called as a VOCA device, which is an electronic device. And so the salesperson whom I called on the phone, and then he said that, see, I'm the father of a special needs person who's a non-mobile person, and he uses it, and I can vouch for you it will work. That's good enough. I mean, so that I guess the company recognized it, and then they said that, okay, let's put these guys over there. Obviously, their sales will go up with this.
Right.
So yes, I'm sure dads can also move into that role, and nothing very different, strange. Yes.
And I think we need to recognize that this is still a very new, those of you with kids who are in their mid-20s are still considered one of the, at least in India, the first generation parents, or at best, kind of second generation parents, right? So with a diagnosis for a child. So hopefully as things progress, and at the same time, even the definition of parenting in the quote unquote neurotypical world has changed. So dads in general have got more involved than, our dads were and, their dads were. So I guess hopefully that will get reflected even in the field of special need families as well. So there's a couple of questions asking for your contacts, and I'll get back to them later. But, I think, Sriram, do you want to just talk about your WhatsApp group so that people know that they can connect? And, what's the best way to connect to that group?
Yeah. So I think I can, the best way is that I will have to share my number with
is that the only option you have?
WhatsApp, and we can,
okay.
I have, that's the only option. Otherwise, because I don't know how else to bring in people over there. Another thing is that, of late, I've also seen another dads group which has started, and they are also talking about a lot of things. So I want to keep about primarily the WhatsApp group, which I started with. The aim was to focus on the well-being of the dads. And I felt that the dads needed a lot of support.
Right.
And not only in terms of autism as such. I remember even during the lockdown stage on our dad's group, there were many of them, they were posting a lot of puzzles and numeric quizzes, and people were, generally there were different kinds of things which are happening. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we could share our numbers with.
Or if there's a link
I don't know.
of
How do you
Amaze
do
or
the?
something. I don't know. Let me get back maybe with on the Facebook link, or the people who want, they can reach out to us. I guess you can write to
Yeah,
us at
good.
editor
Yeah,
at
you can
Patients
reach
Engage.
out on Facebook.
Yeah. So either on our
Yeah.
Facebook page or Amaze's Facebook page, and then we can respond
Yeah,
on
we
that.
can do that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I know we are well beyond our time. Any final, and I know there's still a lot of questions that we've not addressed, but I think and there's a few on planning for the future, but that's not really what we are focusing on in this segment. So if you want to share some final words, Ashok, you want to kind of share some take-home messages?
See, as a parent, and as Ajay said, that every child is unique in his own way. They always have some special ability. And to lead your life comfortably, we as a parent has to be very humble. Humble in our own way, in our society, in our profession. But be ambitious for your child. Never give up. Do everything for your child. What he likes, even if he cannot do it first, it's not that even Modi gets 5 years to run the country. You give at least 5 months to learn it. So you cannot give up in 1 month or 2 months or something. When my child started learning swimming and billiards, yes, it took 3 months, but he is good at now. When I was, in fact, after he learned at the age of 45, I was afraid of even going to the ankle deep water. I asked the coach, will you teach me? Then he said, okay, why not? Because I thought that Aditya could learn, I could also learn. And at the age of 40, 45, I learned the swimming. So you have to be ambitious for your child.
Right, right. Ram?
Yeah, so two things which I would like to leave for all the fathers who are watching, and also all the mothers maybe, but mostly for the fathers as well. One is get to know your child as much as possible, because you can be the best friend for your child, and you will be the best friend forever, and that be assured of that. And the second thing which I would like to leave with, I mean, start looking, taking life. I mean, don't. I mean, the future is there. It is something to be worried about. The past has happened. A lot of mistakes. We have also made mistakes. We are also guilty of things. But then again, what can you do to make a better tomorrow? I mean, do something. What can you do today to make a better tomorrow? I mean, just look at it from tomorrow's perspective.
Right.
Then let's see. I mean, you can probably take it from there. This is what I want to do with that. I mean, there's no point in cribbing, cursing, going ahead and getting worried, etc. I mean, worries are always there. I mean, things are always there. There's plenty on the plate for everybody. But we can't do everything. We all have a limited time in a day, and you can only do that much. I mean, be happy with that.
Right.
Stay safe, be happy. Yeah.
Right, right.
No, I think my thoughts are similar. Be your child's best friend. Previously, I could not have that talk that, he does not have many friends. He has very, very loving relatives, but friends circle is less. So do what the best you can. Kick a ball, go out, go for a swim, like Ashok was saying. That's the kind of thing. And finally, what I told before, while they might not be everything that you wish for, you can be everything that they wish for. That is up to us. That is up to us. We have no excuse for not being the best dad.
Right.
That's what I say.
And I think if we are good enough parents, our children do think of us as the best, right? So
that's true.
We only need to be good enough, to be honest. So I think I'd like to end with, I think it's been a scintillating conversation with all three of you. Thank you for taking the time on a Saturday afternoon, and thank you everyone. I think this has been one of our most engaged and attended webinars as well. So, and we're seeing comments both on the Facebook feed as well as on the Zoom chat. And I think a final message that I always like to give, and this I've learned through conversations with multiple mothers, fathers, as well as various self-advocates, is, be the voice of your child, but listen to your child's voice, because others will listen to your child only when you start to listen to your child. And I think that's something that we often as parents forget. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you
Very good,
so
Martin.
much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending the
Lovely.
session.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.